Alright guys, in the last video we created our profiles component and we created basically the Chrome around it. We also created the route so we can go to developers. Now we need each profile item. Okay, we already created the action to fetch it and bring it from our Redux state into the profiles component, but we want to pass it to a subcomponent called profile item. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so let's go to components, profiles, and then profile item. And let's create a class-based component called profile item. We're going to export it down here. Okay. Now we're not going to need connect here because we don't need to connect this to Redux. We're basically just going to pass in each profile. All right. We do want prop types, so let's import prop types from prop-types. We also want link. So let's import link from our router. And then we're also going to need the isEmpty that we created. So we'll import that from // validation / isEmpty. All right, so this is going to be passed in the profile from the properties, from the props. So let's go in the render and let's just use a little bit of destructuring, and we'll say const profile. We want to pull that from the props of this component. Okay, and it's not going to, this isn't going to come from Redux, it's just going to come from the parent component profiles, and you'll see that when we get to that. All right. Now, this div, this is going to represent what each profile item in the list will look like. So it's going to be a card, a bootstrap card. So we're going to add some class names here. So we want card. We also want card body. And let's do bg-light, which will make it light gray. And then let's do an MB3 so it pushes everything down. All right, and then in here we'll do a row. And we're basically going to have a 2-column row, which is going to, or 2-column div, which is going to have the avatar. So let's say call, let's do call-2, so that it's always 2. It's always 2, no matter what the size. And then an image with the class name of rounded-circle, which is a bootstrap class. And then the source is going to come from the profile property. So we're going to say profile.user.avatar. Okay, remember when we did our response, when we fetch from the database in the back end, we used that populate user, and then we added the avatar name. So that way we're able to grab the avatar name from the profile, okay, from profile.user. All right, now that's all we need in this column, so let's go underneath this div. And here we're going to have a couple classes. We're going to do call-lg. So for large screens, it'll be a 6-column. For MD, for medium, it'll be 4. And otherwise, it will be 8. So call 8. Okay, and this is all in the theme, the Bootstrap theme, if you want to look at that as well. So we'll have an H3 with the profile user's name, so we can get that with profile.user.name. Again, because we did that populate in the Mongoose in the back end. Then we're going to have a paragraph, and inside here let's do profile.status. Okay, so basically what we want here is it to say like junior developer at, and then the company. Okay, but if there is no company, we just want it to say junior developer, because remember, status is required, however company is not. So we're going to say profile status, and then let's do an expression, and we're going to use is empty. Okay, you have to remember, when you have fields that are not required, you have to test for those in your UI, or else it'll just display like senior developer at null or something like that. So we're going to test for profile dot company. All right, and then if that is empty, then let's return nothing. So it'll just display nothing if we put null here. Else, then we want to put in a span, because we have to have some kind of tag here. We'll put a span and we'll say at, and then profile dot company. All right, so that's good. Then we'll go below that paragraph. We're going to put another paragraph in, and then this is where we want the location. However, the location is also it's not required. So let's do an expression and say if is empty, profile dot location, then we'll put null, else we'll put a span, and in here we'll put our profile location. Okay, and then underneath that paragraph I'm going to put a link to view the profile, or to go to the profile. So we're going to use our link to, and this actually we want curly braces here and backticks, because it's going to be slash profile slash, and then we want the profile handle. So profile dot handle, and we'll add a class of, let's say, btn info, and in here we'll just say view profile. Okay, so that's the second column. It's basically a 3-column card. So we have the first one with the image, the second one with this stuff, and then the last one is going to be the skill set. Okay, it's going to have some skills. So let's put a div with the class of call MD4. So if it's medium screens, it'll be 4. And then if it is below a medium screen, I don't want it to show at all. So we're actually going to put a d-none, which is a bootstrap class to display none. But if it's on medium, we want it to display as block. So we can say d-md-block. Okay, and then in here, let's put an h4, and we'll say skill set. We'll put a ul here. Let's make this a list group, actually. So we'll say class name equals list group. Okay, now what we need to do is loop through the skills. Okay, and not only do I want to loop through or map through them, I want only to display 4. If they put like 10 skills, I don't want a list group of 10 items. So what we can do is we can use a combination of slice to get the 4, and then map to loop through and display each one. So we'll say profile dot skills, which will give us the array. Then we want to slice, and we want to pass in 0. We want to start at 0 to 4. So we want the first 4. Then we'll map through them. So in here we'll put in another set of parentheses, and we'll say skill. So each one will be a skill. We also can get the index. All right, and then we'll use an arrow function here. And then inside here we just want to render an li with a key. Okay, we're going to use the index as the key. When you use .map, you can get the index, which, you know, will start at 0, 1, 2, and so on. Then we want to add a class name of list group item, so it displays correctly. All right, we'll put our ending li, and then in here we just want each skill, but I'm also going to put a font awesome check. So I'm going to put an I with the class of FA and the class of FA-check, and then also the class of PR, so padding right 1, just to push it over a little bit. All right, we actually don't want an ending tag. We want like that. Okay, and then we'll just put skill, okay, which is going to come from here. So that looks good. Last thing we'll do is just add our prop type. So profile item dot prop types, and we just have the profile, which is an object, and it is required. Alright, so that looks good. Let's save that. Now let's go back to our profiles.js and make sure we bring that in. So we're going to import profile item from /profile item. And then let's go down to this right here. This is basically just, this was a placeholder for us. And we need to map through our profiles. Okay, now remember, the profiles are coming in because we're calling this action, so they're coming in through this state. Okay, so now it's a property, this.props.profiles, but we're pulling it out here. So now it's just this profiles variable. This contains all of the array of profiles. So what we'll do is, instead of setting this to an H1, which is just a placeholder, we're going to set it to profiles, and we want to map through them. So we'll say for each one, we'll call it profile, and then for each one, we want to show a profile item component. Now this is going to have a key, which we'll set to the profile dot underscore ID. And then of course, remember, it needs a property of the actual profile. So we'll say profile equals profile. Okay, so we're passing that property in there, and that's what this is here. Okay, in the profile item. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, of course, you could have taken everything we did in profile item and just put it right in here instead of using a separate component, but I think that this is a much cleaner way to do it. It just breaks things up, and you have just nice pieces of UI that you can deal with and you can read much better. Alright, so now if we go back and let's go to developers, and there we go. So now it's pulling up all the profiles and it's displaying the data that we put in the 3 columns. Alright, and if I make this smaller, you can see once I get to a certain point, the skill set should disappear. Okay, so there we go. So I wanted to make it responsive. You could get rid of the image if you wanted to as well, but I think it's fine. Yeah, so that looks good. Alright, so in the next video, what we'll do is we'll start to work on the individual profile, which has a couple different subcomponents within it. So yeah, we'll get to that next.